Okay, so I'm going to draw on the whiteboard all the information about the experience that I had. I'll start up here, 10th of December. And that's important because the time of year might be critical for the observation to be carried out. So this is a ground-based observation from my house in Queensland, Australia. So let's just draw a basic ground there, and looking from here on the ground up past the Big Dipper, which looks something like this. I think it's going that way, like that. Basic little asterism in the sky, and looking to about that point there is where I saw this structure that backlights the stars. So it's much bigger than the stars, spans like that, and you look up into it as if you're looking straight from the bottom. So at the very center is a golden shining cloud, and swirling around that are giant angelic forms. It's going to be hard for me to draw an angel, but I'll just make basic suggestions of shape so you can see how they're spread out radially around this structure that, like I said, is like a hollow mountain. And that's just, I think, a better way to describe physically what a portal in space looks like. And the way that the stars are seen in what you'd say is the new foreground, because normatively the stars are the extent of the visual reference points. Everything else is just contiguous, and you might get to different points in the world and different conditions where you see more in what's generally obscured by the darkness of space. But the key for me, I'll just finish, little person. The key for me being able to see it was, I believe, induced by the only thing I'd done any differently to any other time I'd ever looked at the stars, which was staring at the Pleiades. So that's a tight grouping of stars, about 7. And that's just sitting west of the Big Dipper. So we'll just put west for Pleiades. Hard to write on this angle. Alright, Big Dipper here. And this one. Okay, so whilst I'm looking at the Pleiades, what I have done is use my house as a false horizon, or an artificial horizon, if you like. So my angle of looking at the Pleiades had it resting right there, just above the roof. And then I'd used my hands to visually block out the rest of the foreground, and I was only staring at the Pleiades. So when you normatively have a something you're looking at and the image resolves cleanly, it's because your two eyes are assembling the picture. But if you move your focus point, it separates the picture, and the effect on a star, it goes from being small and slightly pointed to being very large, like a bloom. So if I make every one of those stars in the Pleiades big enough that they're touching. And I believe this is important for what happened next. That's 7, 3, 4, yep. What happened next would only be possible through the Pleiades being close enough to achieve this, and that's that I saw a sine wave pattern. It's a basic waveform, and it was running through the field like that, through the light blooms. So I thought that was quite strange, having achieved that from focally displacing my eyes to grow the light blooms and keeping it all isolated so that the only light that's effectively reaching my eyes is just there and just there. So that's when I decided to clear my eyes and look to this point in the sky, just because Big Dipper is another constellation that I'm quite fond of. Even though Big Dipper is described as an asterism, not a constellation, slight difference. How was I doing this? What happened? Oh, good. I hope this whole thing doesn't shut down now. Oh, there we go. That'll work. Okay, so now for a way to determine if what I'm seeing is physically there, I'd say that the optical laws can be applied through something called tiger's eye, common gemstone. We see a phenomena known as chatoyancy. So this is a shimmer where the angle that the light hits the stone and your eye makes a line move across and striate the light. It's common to many gemstones. I believe it's an effect in the sky that we can clear through by absorbing the light and this signal path that we can see in the light of this constellation, and essentially turn the sky into the phenomena that a gemstone shows in chatoyancy, only it's opening a window past the radiation blanket that all the stars are sitting in. So for you to think of a point to the sky, and we'll just make it indeterminate with this curvature that I drew for space, right? And that's really just a thin banding of radiation that all these small bodies are sitting in. So we can see through it, but not normatively until we charge our eyes up and engage this angle phenomena. So that's why I think the date might be important, because these constellations are both moving. So the third point of evidence that I could bring into describing how what I saw was a repeatable phenomena is that the magic eye picture was invented in the quite recent history, and it takes two images in a computer and meshes them together so that they overlay in a similar way to the light blooms overlaying. So this allows a stereoscopic effect where our brain separates the two images and generates a third image, sort of like if you drew this and you ended up with a cube, only the cube is more than suggesting itself in 2 dimensions, it's existing in 3 dimensions through your eye and your brain assembling it. So these are functions that are locked inside of human sight, and thousands of years before we worked out that this neat little trick was possible, just like the invention of lenses and bifocals, stereoscopic imaging, is all following a path of development, deeper investigation into the phenomena that the body engages and how it engages it. So There is one more thing that I want to add to this before I end it, and it's to do with how the I function is activated through isolating, displacing, and the displacement causes a reassembly, and the reassembly allows an attunement for the eye to see on the right angle. But it's locationally locked because this structure was distinct and separate from all known laws and assertions of physics, yet it maps to the Van Allen belt being located where they tell you it is and being impassable by organic life because of its high radiation. So I find that as intriguing as the rest of the extrapolations that are based on it. Normally I do a bit more spiritually based kind of perspective, like looking at different ways that people might have been seeing this at different points in history. But the interesting thing is that there is a galaxy called Bode's Galaxy, and it's located in the same position that I saw this portal into heaven in December. So you can always locate Bode's Galaxy by following this sightline indicator from the corner marker star of Big Dipper. So when you draw Bode's Galaxy, it's like redrawing what I drew over here, slightly smaller. And yeah, it's not very creative, but let's give it some extra dimensions. And they'll show you a big flat elliptical plane. I'll just write EP, elliptical plane. So if the lens that we're looking at this through, right, is a telescope with an artificial lens here, what's happening is the image is flattening onto that lens and then flattening onto the secondary lens that we're looking through, called the sight aperture. And then our eye is reassembling a fourth picture, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pictures. The only truth is found there, and the only direct way to it is without the telescope. So I realized that by investigating the region of space and trying to locate some astronomical coordinates to give this celestial body, and this realization followed that since the invention of the telescope, we have been flattening the images that are too far to see with normative eye function. So I think that's about as much information as I wanted to put into it, and I walked a little bit outside of where I was going just to remember how to assemble all of that information at the end. But hopefully that's comprehensive enough to continue to encourage people to practice this asserted praxis for seeing heaven.